always need to be independent. Okay. Fine. Then the next challenge I faced was that the time management. Since I live quite far from the university, I had to commute almost about an hour to reach UPC. So so instead of just going home and doing my assignments and all my homework, I just stayed in the university and utilized the university spaces like the library and all the study areas in the department. That way I could find more time to do all my assignments and just go home to sleep. That's it for me.
Yeah, from my end, fortunately, I grew up in Vancouver, and I actually went to UBC for my undergrad as well. So the transition to actually working in the lab was pretty smooth for me. From an actual research perspective, is obviously, it's a bit of a roller coaster in the first few months to a year. It takes you a while to get kind of used to the research mentality. It's definitely different, as Pavi mentioned, from your undergrad. It's very kind of self-disciplined. So you need to go about all your daily activities with very little supervision. So it's nice in that regard that you're able to set your own time. But at the same time, it's also difficult because everything is kind of open-ended. And I would suggest mainly just kind of taking advice from more senior members in your lab. Your supervisor obviously is going to have a lot of like a wealth of information to kind of to dip into. So yeah, those would be my main tips. And just getting started with your degree.
Right. So for me, I also did like my master's studies here. So perhaps I can talk a bit about like what happened before. Like I just come to Canada. So my main challenge is basically I'm an international student and English is not my mother tongue. So I have difficulty in the first like several weeks to maybe half a year or something to get used to the life in Canada and build up my social circle. So one thing I found pretty helpful is for my language barrier at the beginning, I went to some program at UBC called Tandem Language Learning Program, where you can pair with another student like English speaker who want to learn your mother tongue. For me, it's Mandarin. So, and with like every week, maybe 1 hour, 30 minutes English, 30 minutes Mandarin. So that helped me like to learn more about the Canadian culture and also get familiar with the language. And also for making friends, like how to fit in this new environment. Basically, it helped me a lot to find my own community, like the same new students coming to UBC from same culture background, and also some senior students in my lab that I can talk to and ask questions to. So yeah.
Okay, so I was an international student when I joined UBC. So when you're an international student and you arrive at UBC in a new country, then it takes some time to get used to it, get to know about new things, new policies, rules, regulations. So it took me around like 3 weeks to get settled down. And at the same time, you have to like shortlist your research topic. That's very important actually, because if you're unable to like identify a proper research topic where you could produce an output, I mean, that would be a big trouble if you're unable to do so at some later point. So that was the biggest challenge. Yeah, so I used my some of my research techniques that I used in my master's in another country. I use some of those works to build up my PhD work. That's all from my side.
Thanks, Arya. From my end, in terms of a transition period, I didn't go through a specific transition period, but when I first started, however, the orientation program back in the days when we could meet in person, the ECE organized a beautiful orientation program similar to this one, where we met grad students and interacted with them, and we heard their stories. This sort of prepared me mentally to what I was going to expect. And also there were several sessions organized by the International and Graduate Student Society about the plethora of services that are offered to us as students, from medical services to helping with applying for work and immigration services. The reason this was helpful is because when you start a program, especially a graduate one, you hope to get bureaucratics out of your way to focus on your studies. And I also had the challenge of submitting progress reports every, I think, 3 months to the ECE grad department to update them on my research, while I had courses to take and needed a bit more time to decide on my PhD topic. That being said, I followed an advice that was given to me by someone. I can't really recall whom gave me that advice, but it was to work with a PhD student or a postdoc. They would help me learn quickly how the lab runs, where the tools are, and get me to a state where I can conduct my own research or experiments, thus saving me a significant time figuring out things on my own. So I was very lucky, I'd say, that I found that person. He was a former PhD student, whom I'm forever grateful for. So yeah, do try to work with someone you can find in your lab, former student. That will definitely help.
Thank you all. I think I can relate to many of the things you just talked about, like time management and also like language barriers. And also like just as Jose mentioned that like when the time we still used to have like in-person meetings, it will be much easier. But this year is just, we are at a very strange times. And then now let's move on to the second questions. So what we have here is about like course selections. I think it could be useful to many of us. So I was wondering, like, what courses did you guys take? And how did you decide on these courses? And are there any like courses you find like really helpful and useful for your research?
So as an M.Eng student, I'm not required to do a research. So I basically had to do 18 credits, of course, in my coursework. So before I chose my courses, I had a solid plan even before I started my term one. So the way I group my courses is that I chose a particular specialization which I need to be better at. So for example, say machine learning, I always had in my mind that I had to take courses on machine learning. So I made sure I take at least one course in my term one and one course in my term two, which was related to machine learning. That way I had at least 2 courses in a particular stream, and I could make that helpful either in my academics following that term, or it could be help me in my professional career as well. That's how I chose my courses. And the one tip I would like to give the new students is that try to register for more courses than just the required number. For example, don't just select 3 and go and take that courses. You have an option to drop courses after 15 days, I guess. So register for more courses and choose later which one you need to take further into the term. That would be my advice.
And from the Master's of Applied Science perspective, so it is thesis based. So there's definitely an aspect of research, but there is a minimum number of credits that you need to take before you can graduate. So in terms of courses, I got a good rundown on courses that might be beneficial for me from a power electronics perspective and a power systems perspective from some of the past students in the lab. So that was kind of nice to see, to just bounce questions off of them and get a gauge of what courses benefited them the most. Another tip that I would like to kind of pass on is that don't feel like you are required to take courses within your discipline. You're required to take a certain number of credits, say in EECE, so electrical engineering, computer engineering. So, but you're also able to kind of branch out, and I was able to take some courses from the clean energy engineering department, and that was super interesting, and I actually learned quite a bit just from those courses that were kind of outside of my so-called realm of expertise. So yeah, definitely take a look at some of the different courses offered in different faculties. They might be interesting to you and kind of help you down the road.
Yeah, I think for me, like basically the courses I took, I either like I need to talk to my supervisor about what is her suggestion that could be related to my research, or she has more knowledge about like which professor are teaching what kind of courses and what's major topics in the courses and whether that suits me or not. And the other direction where I take course from is basically also talk to other students, either from our lab, outside our lab. But they may say, okay, I took this course before, it can teach you what, and I think that's really helpful. The topics itself is pretty interesting, so you might be interested in that. So that's the two major sources of getting recommendation on what course to take. And also I'm kind of like interested in looking at all the courses provided in department. So basically I also look at those lists and to find what each course is about, and then to see if there's anything that I'm interested in. And then, as I think someone already mentioned, you can always take more courses than you are expected, like you are required to, and you can go attend like the first 2 weeks, I guess, courses, and to see how you feel about the course, whether you like it or not, and then decide which course to take. And also for me, because my area is like computer engineering, so it's more related to computer science. So I also took a lot of courses from computer science area. And for PhD students in general, I didn't get a chance to take this course due to some time conflict, but I heard like there's one introduction course. I think it's EECE 500, which basically introduce you to the PhD program, like what you need to do, how do you plan your whole PhD journey. And I heard that one is pretty useful. Yeah, so yeah, for your information. Yeah, I think that's all from my side.
Yeah, so I took 2 courses just to meet, to fulfill the requirements of my PhD. The first course was Academic Enterprise, which was also recommended by my professor. So academic enterprise is more about like how to do PhD, what are the key components, how can you improve your writing, what kind of writing skills would you need to have in order to write a research paper. So that was pretty helpful in that. The other course I took was from math department. It was Math 441, which was on linear programming. So, or let's say discrete optimization. So basically I wanted to have to build some optimization skills. I didn't have any optimization related course in my master's, and my research wasn't related to optimization as well, but I wanted to like acquire some skills in optimization. So I took this undergrad level 400 level course. So if you are doing PhD in electrical engineering, like even my supervisor suggested me to take an undergrad level course in the maths department, because the grad level course in maths department are pretty tough. Yeah, and that can give you a hard time. And another course I audited was, you can also audit a course if you don't want to register. So another course that I audited was on graphs and networks, optimization in graphs and networks. That was also a very great subject to work on. And I guess like most of people have their research ideas based on graphs and networks. That's all from my side.
Yeah, thanks, Aria. I can relate also to auditing a course. I think it's very helpful in terms of saving time. You don't really have to go through submitting all what a course really requires. In my case, I did my master's in the same field as my PhD. So I was fortunate to be able to transfer 18 credits out of the 24 required by the PhD program. This meant I needed to take only 2 courses, 6 credits. However, I ended up taking 4 throughout my program, 3 in the first term because I wanted to really take them, and 1 workshop in the following year, so 15 credits in total. In terms of decision, I had a chat with my supervisors, Professor Lucas Krostowski and Professor Sudeep Shekhar. Both of them really gave me great advices in the beginning and suggested a course each for me to take. So Professor Lucas suggested me to take silicon photonics fabrication, elect 463 with him. And Professor Shekhar suggested me to take the CMOS for silicon photonics, which is EECE 571Z with him. And I personally wanted to take a different course, which is the waveguide theory 582, EECE 582 with Professor Nick Yeager. So to make everyone, including myself, happy, I took the 3 courses. And the workshop that I took was a year later. It was one of the great workshops that I attended, which was in University of Ottawa. And I collaborated with colleagues from other universities on interesting topics. I think that was the EECE 584 course. So I only took those 4 courses. I was pretty determined on what I wanted to study more about, so all of them were actually useful. So take your time, look up the courses, see which ones you really want to take and what you're going to be taking out of them and helping you throughout your PhD. I wouldn't say that all the courses definitely helped me in my PhD, but the content was there. I knew what I took in the course, I knew what I had, so I knew what I wanted to refer to when I bumped into a problem throughout my PhD. So that's a good thing about the course. You get the resources, you're getting exposed to some content that you can easily refer to.
Oh, it's really great to hear like all the amazing answers like you just provided, like cover like some general like suggestions for course selections and also like very specific courses like where we can take. So it's pretty cool. And then let's move on to the next question. So as we move forward to our program, I think another thing like we find pretty common among like many of us is the work-life balance. So I'm wondering, like, at least like I personally very struggle with that. And so I wonder, like, how do you guys like manage the work-life balance? Do you guys have any good tips to offer for many of us?
So one trick or the one tip which I like to give is to have the right people in your life. So they not only help you in your academics and all of the aspects of your academics, they also encourage you to engage in other sorts of activities apart from academics. So having the right people and good friends would help you maintain the good work-life balance, I guess. So that's my take on it. And I'm sorry I had to leave quick by 1:30 because I have something else to do. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and have us stay healthy, stay safe. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'll kind of add on to that, I guess. So for me, the work-life balance, again, I was fortunate enough that being from Vancouver, I have a pretty good support network here. Obviously, friends helps a lot, and kind of treating the degree as a job is nice in the sense that you put in your 8 to 10 hours, and then basically you try to disconnect from the research, from the lab as best as possible. Vancouver is a beautiful city, so has a lot to offer in terms of green space. So if you're just going out for a walk, there's a lot of different leagues throughout the city, depending on which if you like any sports. So soccer, tennis, badminton, lacrosse, anything that you can really think of. There's probably a league for it. So yeah, I kind of take advantage of that. It definitely gets you. It's a great way to meet people, and it's also a great way to just keep the body moving while your mind is kind of preoccupied with other things. So that'd be my biggest tips kind of for anyone struggling with the work-life balance.
Yeah, so for me, I'm still struggling with the work-life balance, especially in this COVID special time. So what I found could be a bit helpful is first to find a routine that actually works for you. Like some people are morning people, some are like night people. But for me, I feel myself work more productively in the morning. And if you get up early and achieve something earlier, I will feel good for the whole day. So I think that's a part that's important. And second is make a goal for the day, because I think like in research, it's very easy for us just to continue working because it's a process and it's not that easy to finish. So I think it's important to set a goal every day and saying, okay, as long as I achieve my goal today, then it's enough. Like you don't need to work 24 hours every day. Yeah, and another thing before quarantine is the same as what Thomas just mentioned. Is like I try to go out every week for once at least with my friends, like to talk about something not research related, and to feel that you have research in your life. That's amazing, but you also have some friends and they have their own life. You can exchange what's going on in each other's life and have some time like away from research. I think that also helps me like to re-energize and to recharge and then continue with the work next week. Yeah.
Yeah, so the biggest challenge that I encountered was like, yeah, balancing between life and work. So if provided that you have a kid, 1 year old. So I'm not sure if you guys have any kids or not. So because of COVID-19, we were not comfortable to send him to the daycare because he's too young. And you guys know about the COVID circumstances right now. So it was really, really hard for me to make a balance because sometimes like my wife is not around or she has to do something. So I have to take care of him. So, but then like I tried to manage it by getting a by like defining a hard schedule. For example, when he's sleeping, I try to get up early in the morning when he's sleeping so that I can work for a few hours, and then like I can take a break for some time, and then I resume again. And especially I sometimes I work at night as well. So I mean, you have to find some good time period to work on, and also on research, if you work for 1 hour, you don't get anything. You have to at least work for 2-3 hours consecutively. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Arya. For my end, I stumbled a lot across this term, the work-life balance, which I found that I never had a work-life balance. And the reason is that the balance is never evened out, right? Like sometimes I get swamped in work and lab till midnight, and that can happen for like a full week long. So, and I can't go out and enjoy for a week to even out the balance, right? So I think it's more like a cycle, a work-life cycle, where if you really enjoy your master's or PhD work, you will never really feel it's like a burden. Sometimes you will be like, I need to get a change. I need to get out and inspired with better ideas. I want to go out to see different things and think in a better way. So try not to feel guilty about going out and enjoy everything you do, whether you play, practice a sport, visit a friend, gather for food, whatever it is. To me, I found mountains are like magic. You know, you really do get inspired in a way you haven't thought about before. I love winter. It can be gloomy and rainy in Vancouver most of the winter, but if you go up north, that's where all the snow is. You can ski, snowboard, snowmobile, whatever. It's most importantly that you can see sun and enjoy while it's raining down here in Vancouver. I have a picture in Revelstoke Mountain, which I hope I could share. I was skiing literally above the clouds. So while riding the chair, it's gloomy and dark, but up at the summit, it's sunny like a summer day. So make sure you go out and find these summer days in the winter and enjoy. And there are also like some resources like UBC has a lot of different clubs like the Varsity Outdoor Club, where they organize events, outdoor events in specific. And also there are other clubs in Vancouver like the British Columbia Mountaineering Club. Just make sure like you reach out to the folks in these clubs and join their trips. It's very rewarding, and it will definitely help you overcome the hard times throughout your program.
I think it's really great to hear like different perspectives on like how you guys like think about even like the work balance thing, and to find about like your personal resolve, and it's pretty cool. And then I guess like we mentioned, and also like before we mentioned about like the strange time that we're at the COVID-19 thing. And so I wonder like if you guys have any like tips for working from home. And also I also want to add like one more like very general question, like what are some like resources you guys find like really helpful for you to thrive in grad school?
Yeah, before we hop in, sorry, Thomas, before we hop into that one, I think there's another M.Eng here that is ready to take some question. Dinesh, do you mind stepping up for the panel and answer that question?
Happy to help if there's any M.Eng student joining. Sorry, I couldn't really reply on time, if you remember, but yeah, I am here to answer the questions related to M.Eng program.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Okay, so could you understand Yanan's question?
Oh, I didn't really have a question. I was just telling I can actually answer the questions related to M.Eng.
Okay, no worries. Maybe in the next round you can answer some question. Then Tomas, go ahead.
Sure, yeah. I guess to kind of break that up in terms of Nothing in particular comes to mind. I don't want to get too specific because everyone here is doing a different research topic or MEng's program or emphasis on their research. So, but yeah, definitely take advantage of your network. Discuss with other more senior people in your lab which workshops they took. If there's a possibility to go to conferences, that's a great place to meet people. Doing like-minded things, but also just to meet people and see what their experiences are. So yeah, definitely take advantage of any kind of conferences or any kind of events that you can go to. It's amazing just what one conversation can do. Can basically change your direction of your research or also the direction of your professional career as well. So yeah, jump on all those opportunities that come up through the department that you're under or through any other means. Working from home, yeah, I think that people are obviously still, trying to tackle this issue in the best way possible, and each person is going to be have their own methods. Personally, for me, I like to have an area of the house that is kind of sorry, that's kind of like my work area. So I don't go there during the day other than to work, and that's kind of helped a lot in terms of like putting up like a mental block in terms of, this is where I work, this is where I'm supposed to be for the next 5 or so hours. And it's really helped. I used to have a really tough time because I'd get up from bed and walk into the TV room, and the TV is right there, the refrigerator is right there. So yeah, just kind of quartering off some areas of your house or your room or anything that you have access to will help you there. At least that helped me. But yeah, again, it's a very fluid, yeah, I mean, sorry, I guess very different for everyone else. I'd say also the last thing I'd leave people with is go for walks. Walks are great. They kind of break up the day, and it's just nice to go outside and get some fresh air. So
yeah, I totally agree with what Thomas just said, because that's also what I did during the quarantine time. Like I tried to set up a corner that I just work here, but not doing anything else. So every time you come here, you'll have this kind of like habit of working in this area. And also one thing helps me is get dressed up every day in the morning, like do not work in your pajamas. So you will have a sense that, okay, my day started and now I need to start working, rather than just roaming around in the room and feel pretty chill. So I think that also helps. And in terms of like research resources, so I have a few like lessons learned, pretty general, I think suits for all type of research projects. So the first one is to stay organized and document everything, which means like you need to document everything in a meaningful way, which means like maybe after 1 or 2 weeks or a month, when you come back, look at a file name, you still understand why you name it in that way. And also if you run some experiments, always keep some documentation for yourself, like what version of the tools, what configurations, and what data sets you use to get these results. And always keep a copy of raw data, because for me, like when I do some data analysis, I need to like annotate what are the results and maybe format it a bit differently. But then I kind of get confused, and I found I won't be able to know what is the original result and whether this is a really mistake or really like a outlined data point, or it's actually that I messed up in the middle or something. So I think keep a copy of raw data is also helpful. And then also another challenge for me is time management. So, and also keeping track of all the tasks. So what I'm trying to do now is to put all the tasks kind of on my calendar and also block times every day, like for saying, okay, this 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 or something, I'm doing which task. And also keep a list of all the tasks and then check them out every day after you finish them. That also makes you feel good, feels like you achieve something every day. So that's also something helpful for me. And I think the last thing is attend conferences or watch talks that related to your area, like that can help you keep motivated and also gives you new ideas. So yeah, that's all.
So I believe like in your PhD or in your graduate studies program, you have to be better organized. You have to do some time management. You have to acquire time management skills, and you need to like organize things so that you can be more productive. For example, some days you may come across when like you like work for like so many hours, but at the end you didn't receive any output, and then you are trying to think, okay, what have done today? I didn't do anything, so that's why I didn't get the results. So it's good to record your times that you spend on your research. For example, today I spent this much time on these tasks. And also sometimes you get fed up from your research because results are not coming. So you can try to have different things on board. Like you can start another thing for some time, and then you can get back to your research. So you can switch from one activity to another. And also one thing I noticed that sometimes when the results are not coming, you become despair and you lose your motivation. And what I used to do, I used to change my spaces. So sometimes, I mean, when the COVID was not around, so I used to use different spaces in the university, sometimes in the nest, sometimes in the library, sometimes in another library. So it helped me a lot. Like when you change your space or sitting area, then you can brainstorm in a better way. This is my opinion. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Thanks, Rabe, and everyone. I think like you guys like pretty much covered like crossed my mind, but I can add if you ask me specific tips for working from home, I don't think I'm the best person to ask. So because I'm home averse. However, I always recommend getting outside, getting some time to get out while keeping a safe distance, whether going for a jog or a walk around campus. You definitely should stay safe but healthy as well. And in terms of resources, watch out for the emails that Ross, Sylvia, and the rest of the ECE grad school send out. They actually contain some real gold. The reason I say this is because some workshops that they offer are really priceless. I can perhaps share a small story. For some time, I thought about becoming a faculty and pursuing an academic career, but then I thought about joining the undergraduate. I read online through the Grad Cafe and other websites such as Quora to help me on getting to know what I will be expecting in each track, but I haven't really got as much help as I got from the Pathway to Professorship workshop that was offered by the ECE department at UBC. I got the grad school department because there were other people from other different programs, but that was definitely helpful. So keep watching out for these workshops and try to leverage and make use out of them.
Oh, awesome. I feel like there are a lot of like very useful tips over there, and I think I can relate to a lot of them, like being more organized and being like detached to your work sometimes, just taking a walk or do whatever you feel like you can can help you relax and then come back to work. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything we want to discuss for the panel discussion. Now we'd like to open the floors to our audience. If you guys have any questions, it's good time to ask.
I think you're a little shy of an audience. Do you know the...
Hi, so I guess if I had a question, it'd be a little bit more on working from home. I would love to see like more tips or hear more tips on how you guys stay efficient, motivated, and stay on task for like many hours at home. I don't do bad, but just versus like being in the lab where you're just like always on point, perhaps. So.
This question
wants to go?
Not for me.
Yeah, this is a tough one because I feel like that my mentality around working from home has changed quite a bit. I was very work from home averse, similar to Hassam, but basically being forced to work from home, you kind of have to adapt. I'd say that trying to maintain some kind of semblance of a schedule is really useful. Like was mentioned before, basically getting up in the morning, kind of having a set day plan, whether or not you need whether you have certain meetings to attend or not. I think that really helps. If you feel like you are kind of slipping, finding other things to occupy yourself, whether that's, yeah, I don't know, movies or YouTube or Netflix or something like that. I found it's really nice to kind of periodically or create periodic meetings with other lab members or your supervisor, just to kind of keep you cognizant of the fact that, hey, like there are deliverables, and those deliverables don't need to be a conference paper or a journal paper, but they can be like, hey, like I was wanting to read X amount of papers regarding this topic or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of my best tip. Honestly, like I'm not an expert. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. So I'm definitely would love to hear some other tips as well if anyone has any.
I think. Oh.
Before we go for no questions,
excuse me. Yeah, we're just gonna take the answer from all the panelists. Then Lucas Sinopoli, we're gonna go next because he raised his hand. Then Gideon can go for the following question. Thank you.
I just wanted to add something on what Thomas just said. So one thing I guess maybe a lot of people don't do, and I don't really know whether it's good or not, is actually sometimes when I'm not in the mood for working, I will actually open YouTube and search for study with me videos. Like there are a lot like good videos on YouTube, and a lot of them are like they have focus music and they have Pomodoro embedded in those videos. So when you look at those people, they are studying, and then you will somehow get into the mood of studying. So that works for me sometimes. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other comments on that from the panel, or otherwise we move forward? It seems not the case. Then Lucas, go ahead. The question.
Yeah, first I wanted to make a comment, if you guys don't mind, and it's that when we take breaks, there's there's an effectiveness of the breaks. I find, it's very engineering, like to think this way, but they can be efficient and effective. And one thing, and the same with socializing. And I found that for me, when I was doing my master's, it was very useful to have some friends that were not at university at all, and those relationships really took me away from my academic world. So they were very, very valuable for me, have friends that were not from university. And in terms of breaks, I find very valuable to get out, to stand up. If I take a break and I'm in the computer and sitting in the same position and looking at the screen, for me, it's not very effective. So I try to get out. That's just a comment I had. And I had a question. We had a team meeting before this meeting, so I'll bring up the same question. I would really like to do some planning for my PhD. I'm just starting this term. And I was actually interested in this course you guys mentioned, because I've been reading about planning and I've been talking to my colleagues, and it seems like a very polemic and challenging thing, planning for your PhD. So I wanted to hear people's opinions on how would you go about planning, or if you do so or you don't, or things like that. Thank you.
Anyone want to take on that question?
So your question, Lucas, is like, how do you plan for your PhD, right? Like what exactly in the PhD? You mean your research, or?
In general, if you can plan, if there's any way of planning a little bit your whole PhD and with the important things and looking at the big picture and doing some type of planning, maybe not Gantt chart, not that type of traditional structure planning, but any form of planning activity for the whole, PhD program.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a formal way to do it, but I can share with you what I've been doing. I use Evernote. It's just like a note-taking application. And I have a to-do notebook, which has like multiple entries based on the month. So this notebook, basically, I write what I have to do. and then like the report that basically has your sort of goals by the end of your PhD. So like in say in 4 years, what exactly you're predicting your outcome to be. Definitely like looking back at it, a lot of things haven't been fulfilled, but at least like, you know, if you basically have a very optimistic kind of plan, say 50% of it will be fulfilled, which is going to be great. So have like, okay, 4 years from now, I'd like to have like, I don't know, X number of publications or an internship in one place, a publication, a collaboration with, at a specific project, and just like keep tracking and monitoring this progress. Don't be overstressed about it, because things usually don't go according to plan, but it will definitely make you, what I found really important is before you sleep at night, it's usually hard to get out of bed, right? So if you have like a list that tells you, okay, I need to like wake up to get my to-do list for tomorrow ticked off, so in like a year I can have this delivered, this is gonna keep you, you know, like going and going and going. So start like, I would say top going down to the bottom, the picture, what do you want to have in 4 years? And if you ask me like, what did I base my goals on? Based on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to have and what I heard from my friends. So like colleagues in the same field, when they graduate, I don't know, 3-4 publications, an internship in a place. So you basically like set your goals based on this. Of course, it varies and depends from person to another and depends on your project. But yeah, having this sort of plan will definitely help. And then you can keep refining it on the years and while talking with your supervisors and just like self-evaluation kind of thing.
Okay, great. Anyone else want to take on that? If not, gonna go ahead with Gideon, answer question.
I guess I've asked this to you, Jan. So I was wondering, I just wanted to know what mistakes some of you guys made when you first came into your PhD program. Yeah, that we can learn.
Okay, I have a joke, but I'm not gonna tell it. Okay, you guys have any mistakes you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think this is the mistake that most of the people or the PhD students do. They get overstressed as the time goes. So basically, they, for example, in the first year, they didn't have any publication, let's say, and then they keep on like giving more stress on their minds. So that's gonna make you less effective. So just keep calm. If you have any problems running, then you can also talk to your supervisor. And also your mental health is very, very important. So keep on doing things that keep you calm and happy.
Yeah,
anyone? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I wanted to say I agree with what Rabia said. It's always good to like ask. Yeah, keep asking, I would say.
Yingying, do you have anything you want to add on?
I think it's kind of the same, like, because I'm in my second year and I'm kind of feeling the stress now, because you need to decide on your research topic and also the department is chasing you, asking about your progress report. Yeah, so I can feel the stress, and I do agree, like, because I also talk to my friends sometime offline when I have the stress, and also maybe people from my lab, and seeing what are they feeling, what are they experiencing, and if they have any tips to share with me, and if they have any ideas, so if they can, like, basically we can help each other. So I think sometimes one thing is a lot of people are experiencing the same kind of state and have same type of trouble, and it will be easier for each of us, like, if we can openly communicate and to help each other. So I think that helps a lot. Yeah, like, basically don't suffer alone. Yeah.
Great, I like that too.
Yeah.
It's always
just wanted
easier.
to add one more point, just wanted to add one more point. So always discuss things with your lab mates. For example, if you are stuck in at some like research area or some research problem, so don't think that, okay, this guy has nothing to do with this research problem, he's working on a separate topic. But no, the other people, the other guy can help you a lot in that, in your research problem as well, because he doesn't know anything about it. And when you're trying to explain your problem to him, he can identify several issues.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you, Rabe. And I think that's also one of the purpose why we want to do the lightning talks, so we can get to know like each other by like understand what they're doing. And so if you have like a problem like in your research or whatever you want to, and then you know someone like you can talk to and ask for, I don't know, like knowledge sharing or maybe just a few like suggestions. So I think we've got like a few questions in the chat box.
Yeah, I have another comment on this. Because sharing mistakes is like is a super great question, and it's not also easy to answer for everyone, because that means opening up a little bit and share the pain with people. And I like to do that for you guys. I think one of the examples that, I mean, PhD or like a graduate students or graduate program is a very unique experience. It depends who's coming in and what strengths and weaknesses they have, and what supervisor they have, and so forth. So it's kind of hard to give a generic answer. But for me, for instance, problems where mistakes were trying to level up to others or having expectations measured on other people was one of the things that I trapped into. Like, you come to UBC in the first weeks, you think, oh, this is amazing, it's an amazing school and everything is so cool and you're so happy to be here, but then you realize, oh, you're surrounded by very smart people that make you feel like very dumb very quick, and not on purpose. Like, it's just everyone is smart around you, and it's very hard to like keep in mind, okay, you are like dealing with awesome people and they all wanted to help you, but yeah, you're still in the program, you're here to learn, and it's okay to fall and to get up and fight again. And that's just an everyday struggle that is part of learning and expanding. And yeah, another one for me was also that UBC is amazing with all the courses they offer. There's so much stuff you can learn here. So I took probably too many courses for my research. So my research didn't excel as quickly as I wish. But also on the other hand, in the first year, I took so many workshops and courses that really, really determined or like shaped my career or my take on a PhD. And that's much for me now.
Hi, I'd like to jump in on this mistakes thing. I like it too much. Very sorry for those who are having questions in Q&A, but just a couple of quick things from my side. The first mistake I did in my very first term is that I said, yeah, I would do my best in this program. I would get to work every single day. What I can say after few years in that button, I don't want to say how many years I have been here, but your PhD or your research will not be better by working 7 days a week. So I ended up like working Saturday and Sunday, and when I reach Tuesday, I don't have any energy to work. So it's good to rest either one of the 2 days on the weekend or even both of them if you work hard during the weekdays. And it's only if you are pretty busy, you can plan a very small activity, 30 minutes walk around your neighborhood, or go to a new restaurant, or just visit a friend in the dorm. If you have long time, you can plan something more advanced over a long weekend. So adjust your activity according to the time available. However busy you are, this does not prevent you from having an activity. You can have an activity for 30 minutes if you are very busy. You can have a long activity if you have some free time. That's one thing. The other thing is, opposite to what Jan said, I took too little number of courses. If I'm back in time, I guess I will take more courses, specifically if you are more into theoretical research and you are using mathematics a lot. I may have taken one or two more courses. That is the input from my side. I second as well, Rabe, in talking to your lab mates. And second, Jan, in terms of compare yourself to yourself yesterday. If you are progressing, that's good. Don't compare yourself to the best student who is having like 10 publications or 10 journals in 1 year, something like that. So yeah.
Thank you guys for sharing all like these personal experience. I think, yeah, like all the mistakes you just mentioned, I probably made all of them. Yeah, that's also why it took me quite some time to finish my PhD. And I second a lot of things like talking to your lab mates and taking maybe more courses. I'd also like taking breaks, learn to detach from your work, and you can't just work every day and don't feel like guilty, like if you need to take a break. And yeah, okay. I think we still need to get the question.
Another question in chat. Yeah, we had a question from Nilufar. I think hopefully that's pronounced right, regarding advice on co-ops or internships under grad students. What is your guys' take on co-ops and internships?
Yeah, I can jump in. I actually had an internship opportunity that I was down in California working for Tesla for 4 months from January till May, but obviously with COVID, I ended up cutting that short and working from home for a few months. The way is a pretty organic process in all honesty, and I think the best way that I would say going about finding an internship is talking to your supervisor. They have industry contacts, whether it's in the city of Vancouver or internationally. And then I would also say, kind of just piggybacking on what I mentioned before, going to conferences, you meet such an array of people from either different universities, and a lot of the times specific companies send representatives, whether they have a pop-up stall or they're actually presenting a paper. That's a great way to actually meet someone in person, put a face to a name, and then just get their contact information. So when you cold call them or email them in the future about any kind of internship opportunities, it's a less formal process. I find that if you're going through LinkedIn, or if you're trying to find someone like a recruiter, it's tough. Just you get lost in the sea of applications. So trying to be a little more personal with the way you're going about finding these opportunities would be my suggestion. Again, it's not that easy sometimes. It's definitely you kind of have to either put in some serious legwork to find these people, or it's more of an organic thing. So for me, I was really lucky, but it's definitely doable, and I would highly suggest it. It's a great way to make a bit of money while you're doing your PhD or master's, and also it's just a great way to pad the stats on the resume and get some great experience.
Okay, and what else? Did internships or co-ops? Yeah, I didn't do an internship or co-op in my grad students at UBC, but I did in my master's. And for me, that is the cutting edge when you come back into the application process after you're a graduate. Because if you have done more of a hands-on experience, people will recognize that when you apply for a new job, and that might give you a cutting edge. And yeah, but with the UBC level, my take would be, yeah, sync it with your supervisor and see if it fits into your current state of the program. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I think another thing I can add on is like for master or PhD students, you can do like an internship through MyTax. So there's that MyTax Accelerate program, and it's sort of like a research internship where you can collaborate with industry partner. So by this way, you can sort of find something that can also be helpful for your research, where it's easier for you to get support from your supervisor. So that's another thing you can look into if you want to somehow have like a research internship for your master or PhD.
Yeah, and then just one comment, as Tomas was mentioning LinkedIn. Yeah, you guys should be actively networking while you're at UBC already, because all the smart people around you will eventually transition to academia or to industry or whatnot. And it's always good to have some people that you know. You might not know where to go, and always good to stay in sync with stuff happening. So I encourage everyone to reach out, and maybe the people that are on this call here, find them on LinkedIn, or happy to connect with me or anyone else. people are usually very receivable when you request a connection.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that LinkedIn thing myself.
Okay, then we had another question from Michael, I think. Yeah, what is your take on TAing? Do you think it's rewarding? And if yes, how so?
Oh, yeah, I think he also asked a question earlier.
Oh, I see that, yeah. Okay, so Michael is wondering if anyone does something to compensate for the lack of social closeness or physical closeness in your lab. He thinks the communication is very sparse right now. And what are things you or your lab doing to improve social environment in the group?
Yeah, I think this is a tough one. I think that depending on the size of your lab and also, definitely kind of where each person is located in the world, it can definitely affect the way that people communicate. I know that our lab in particular is still trying to figure out the best way to kind of maintain some semblance of like collaboration. So we have weekly technical meetings as well as, weekly social meetings. It obviously it's not the same kind of experience as meeting people in the lab and kind of participating in lunchtime activities or going out for dinner and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't really know what the best way to go about that is. In all honesty, I think that everyone's still kind of trying to figure that out. But there's definitely a lot of opportunities nowadays with meeting online, kind of creating a more kind of regimented schedule for kind of collaboration like that. Might be a good way of going about it. Those are just some of the things that my lab's doing right now and just kind of relaying that information, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Sorry guys, just seeing people are leaving and we just want to get some feedback from you guys before we leave. Feel free to fill it out on the fly. It's just basically how you like it and what you want to do us further. And we do that, people start running away. You see it already happening. But we still keep going with Q&A, so we still get to your questions, so don't worry. Okay. Yeah, any other one? A lab or personal?
Yeah, please be sure to leave your feedback before leaving because it's gonna help us planning in our future events. Thanks.
Sorry, I interrupt, but what do you guys mean by technical and non-technical? Would this be technical or not non-technical?
Well, this is not like hardline technical. This would be a non-technical talk, saying we're talking about more experienced things. Technical would be more like we're talking about a new 5G or smart grid or whatnot.
Thank you.
It can be seen as you are sharing either something from your research that's technical or sharing something that you are interested in, like talking about how do you like skiing in the winter or something like that. This is a non-technical.
So I just wanted to add a few things on the questions asked by Michael. So the first question was like, how can we communicate with the lab mates? You can build a Slack channel. Like our lab has a Slack channel. We didn't contribute to it much for the social purpose yet, but like our lab ambassadors like Alhami and Yanan, they organized like lab meeting a couple of weeks ago. So where we had some games and some quizzes. So you can always organize such things to bridge the gap, the communication gap between you guys. And regarding the other question about TAing, I have been working, I am actually a TA training facilitator in the Faculty of Applied Science. So we usually, we train TAs. So basically TA helps you a lot in different ways. For example, based on the type of job you're doing, it could be grading, it could be like giving tutorials to the students. So if you're giving tutorials to the students, you are acquiring some teaching skills, some time management skills. You are learning how to design a course or how to design your session, how effectively you can create your learning objectives. These learning objectives are really important to tell to the audience in the beginning of the session. So basically you learn a lot of things. So if you get some time to be a part of like TA team or TAing a course, I would strongly encourage you guys that you should do it, because you're gonna learn a lot of things at the end. Apart from getting some salary, you'll learn a lot. Thanks.
Anyone else wants to talk about some TA and stuff?
I had like a similar experience to TA. In the first moments, I don't mind, like it was like seeing to like top up my income, but also after a while, I like to like you learn a lot how to like delegate stuff, learn how to communicate, and you've been there, right? You've been like in courses where you have where you're struggling, and TA is actually the one that helps you. And it's really, for me, an interesting experience to see I really discovered that I like to see how people will thrive, like how people get better because you can help them. So I learned how to like teaching and mentoring quite a bit, and coaching. So that was one part of the thing that benefits me, but also keep in mind you're exchanging your time again. So it's up to you how you're going to plan your research. It certainly is a very valuable experience.
I have one thing to add about TAing, which is it rewarding or not? Is it so when it comes to your TAing, this is a joint decision along with planning your research as well. So typically what I see is that most PhD students do not take TAing in the very last year in the program when they are about to finish to focus on your research. That's one thing. And many of them, not most, but many of them don't do it in the very first year as well. So you typically, if you say you stay 5 years in the program, most people do TAing when they are in second, third, and fourth year. That's what I have seen. Another thing, it has to go as well with how your supervisor is seeing the concept of TAing. Some supervisors are fine that you are TAing as long as your research is going pretty well. So some of them may say, I don't prefer you TA if you don't, if your research needs some more effort from you. That's one thing. Other thing, some professors prefer that you TA with their courses. So yeah, you need some like discussion with your supervisor about that. Another thing is maybe the last year in program is not the best for your TAing. And other than that, TAing is pretty enjoyable and rewarding. Especially for the first 2 terms you do it. After that, it turns out like you are doing the same thing again. So you're more about doing it for more income or just accumulating TA experience. I don't know if this is gonna help for faculty jobs or not, but this is my take on it.
Okay, then we have one more question, I think, in the pipeline. Yingying asks, how do you guys manage research if your master research topic is totally different from your current PhD topic, especially when you find your master topic is easier to get publications? Anyone did their PhD outside their masters or undergrad to masters?
I can perhaps jump in. I didn't, but it might result in taking a bit more time in your PhD to basically catch up. And so it's not like, for instance, MIT has a program where if you join the EECS department for a PhD, you have to take it for 6 years, which is like master's and PhD, even if you're just joining for a PhD. So just assume that it might end up being a bit longer, but at the same time, you would set your fundamentals right. So, I mean, there is a reason you're doing a PhD in a different topic than your master's, right? You feel like you're motivated to basically take a different path, and you really want to become an expert in this field. So I think the motivation and your drive is gonna not make you feel it's a 6-year kind of program or 5. Yeah, maybe I'm not the best person to answer it because I didn't experience this, but that's my take on it.
Well, Rabe, you want to go? Go ahead.
Yeah, so again, like my PhD topic is related to my master's, but I just wanted to add something maybe that could be beneficial. So once during my master's program, I witnessed someone working in the communication field, having tons of publications in communication. He was actually a professor. And then he went to Intel and he was doing a circuit designing job. So before he was like building algorithms for communication and signal processing, and then he was designing circuits at the end. So both of these things were a bit different. So I asked my supervisor, okay, so how did he get the job? So he gave me an answer that was pretty cool. So that he told me that PhD is kind of a block. You give them an input problem and you get the outcome or the result. So think it as a block. So no matter what area you're working on, you are basically working on a problem and then you have to find a solution. That's PhD.
Yeah, Mike,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just like trying to jump in here because that's actually my situation. Like I did my undergrad on, my undergrad thesis was on IoT, my master's on systems optimization for renewables, and now doing a PhD in power electronics. So I'm completely over the field with things, and it's not helpful in terms of accelerating your PhD, but it's very helpful in like have a very broad foundation that you can thrive off, because you look at things from a different perspective, and that gives you maybe an advantage, maybe a disadvantage. But I found that very helpful, actually beneficial to me to have a master's and with a focus on computer science and now doing electrical engineering. So yeah, certainly it's going to slow you down in the beginning, but it might turn out for you to be a little bit rounder at the end because you are exposed to more topics. But certainly that's a decision you seem to have already made. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to add that it can actually turn out to be beneficial as well. Since you're coming from a slightly different background, you can use whatever you learned in your master's to think about the problems you face in your PhD from a different perspectives. For instance, if you come from computer science and you're doing your PhD in photonics, maybe you can use like certain machine learning algorithms which you've learned from there to apply to photonics, something that we basically struggle with a bit. So I mean, you can leverage it actually. Thinking about it, it might be beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I guess due to the time, we need to close off our panel. So thank you very much to all our panelists for joining us today. But before we let you go, I have one last question. So what you wish you knew when you first started out your program? Just some final word and final tips for all of our audience today.
I wish I knew a pandemic was coming. I would have spent more time with my family. It's really hard to reunite right now, but I think like just, I mean, don't get overstressed about earning a degree. I think a degree is gonna be coming sooner or later, just like live a positive and a healthy lifestyle and take this opportunity as a life-changing one. You're not only here to earn the degree, right? It will come, but the experiences that you go through are your choice, so make the most out of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Hassam said. I think for me, and I think a few other people mentioned this, you kind of get stuck in this mentality that you need to, write a paper, you need to finish your thesis, you need to finish these experiments, but it kind of gets lost along the way that it's a learning experience, and the goal behind a PhD and master's is ultimately learning more about a topic, and then setting yourself up for the future to obtain a position in an industry that you want to be in, and you feel that you get a strong inclination towards that field. So I think that, yeah, it's easy to get lost in the reads in the sense that, you know, it can be a year in, you're still unsure about the topic, you're kind of working on a few experiments and simulations, and you're just not seeing a lot of progress. But I mean, this is just coming from my experience. It ultimately does, I think, coalesce into something that you will be proud of. So, I mean, yeah, like talk to your lab mates, talk to your supervisor, network, try and get as much out of the experience as possible. And at the end of the day, I do think that everyone will have a good time, and you'll be better for it in the end. So, I mean, yeah, just kind of, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at.
So for me, I think one thing important is to manage and set up an appropriate and realistic expectation. So I think when we all comes in, we kind of like, maybe we don't have our own expectation, like we rely on some other people to set the expectation, or maybe we set a too high expectation for ourselves. And you might feel stressed, like have a lot of maybe bad experience in the middle, but that's a time to learn to like get to know better about yourself and then adjust your expectations and your goals. So that's the one thing for me. And the second thing is, I think it's really important to have open and effective communication with your supervisor, and then to help them help you better. So that's also a key for me. Yeah.
So in the beginning, I thought my PhD would be 3 years or 3.5 years long, as most of the students do in UK or in Australia. But like then I was giving me a sort of stress that, okay, I'm lagging behind my PhD. But the thing is, like, don't take it seriously. You have to think in a way that you have to produce a good output. So it's not like earning just a degree, but you have to earn some good experience and you have to produce a good outcome. Yeah, these are my final words.
Oh,
thanks.
Nice. I can relate to many of them, and I think essentially the most important thing is about the experience. And yeah, I think that's all. And thank you, Yingying, Tomas, Rabe, and Hosem for joining us to share your experience today. It is a great learning experience, I think, even for me still, and for all of us. And thanks to everyone who also joined us today, and enjoy the rest of your day, and hope to see you all again in our future learning talks. And before you go, remember to fill out the feedback survey. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye. Guys.
Bye. Thanks.
Great day.
My baby's crying.
Thank you. Wow. Oh,
oh,
he just,
okay,
he
goodbye.
just woke up.
Okay.
Just go.
Bye.
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 Bye. It signals the end of the panel. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's working from home, guys.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah, really, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
You were all great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Oh.
Guys,
Yeah.
great. We did great job.